sometimes going plastic free means you actually welcome more plastic into your life. Long story short, I'm a jerk. But there you go. Hey, it's Maggie. So I wanted to vlog a few thoughts as I'm coming out of the Reuse Summit. It has been a super learning opportunity. It really helped me to isolate reuse out of the 5 R's. They presented it, of course, as being part of the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. I know there are more than that. It was obviously really nice to be around like-minded people. It was very humbling to realize how many people really are starting to adopt some more environmental, eco-friendly, sustainable options and systems. So on the one hand, it was kind of humbling to realize that. On the other hand, we're at this summit and we are all talking so much about making sure to reuse things. Almost every speaker talked about single-use plastic, really trying to luckily move from looking at recycling rates, because sometimes making environmental moves in the right direction is not measurable by just looking at your recycling rates, but instead looking at diversion rates, like how much we're diverting from the landfill. So we spend all morning talking about that, and we get to lunch, and I thought for sure that the catering service that they would use for a reuse summit would have real dishes and silverware that would then be washed. But anyway, we get to lunch and they have these plastic plates. So I was feeling kind of like a loser. Like I said, I randomly decided to go to this summit. I was not affiliated with anyone there, so I found myself sitting alone at lunch and feeling kind of sad, and also feeling pathetic and like a huge hypocrite that I was eating off of a plastic plate, and that then all they had was, one trash can for collecting everything. So we're supposed to put our food scraps and plastic forks just in the trash. And the hypocrisy was just blowing me away. And I wanted a way to connect socially with other people. So since they were all like-minded, I went around to the tables and was like, hey, if you don't want to throw your plate in the trash, I'll take it. So now I'm coming home with this huge stack of these plates that there's a lot of like salad dressing and gross stuff on these plates, and a whole bin full. I used my bag for carrying my mason jar around so that it doesn't get the things in my purse wet. I brought that with me, so I took my mason jar out of it and just carried it separately and put all of these silverware, well, they're obviously not silver, but these like forks and knives. So all the people who were willing to give me that, one person even gave me their plastic cup. A lot of people there were using a reusable cup, but they had those set out. Which, the other reason that didn't make sense to me was because when you came into the conference, they had a table set up where you could get one of their reusable, like, sports water bottles. And I was just like, why didn't they just set those out with the lemonade and stuff that they were giving away instead of the plastic things? I mean, I know the caterer was probably separate from the organizer, but it's just funny to me that we're all spending a conference all day looking at these big picture fixes and on a governmental level, which I definitely think is important. And yet this stuff, like literally right in front of our eyes, is going unnoticed. So I feel probably a little smug about the fact that I took these. It was kind of a narcissistic move, I guess, to be like, oh, look at me, and also kind of like wagging my finger like, oh, don't you feel guilty and terrible now that you were just gonna throw this away, which is contradictory to the message you just delivered. I did learn during the seminar that there can sometimes be an environmental downside to washing, especially when we're talking about massive quantities of washing. They talked about one school in particular who kind of decided that using the reusable trays and was not more environmentally friendly because of all of the utility that it cost and chemicals that would then go back into the system from the dishwashing equipment. So taking into account all of that went into it, they found that composting biodegradable plates was actually the better way to go. So they were still using single use, but it was at least not going to landfill. So I will say that was a learning moment for me, thinking that maybe it's not always the best option to wash a plate. It was an enlightening seminar. I hope to make another video where I share some of the things I learned, but I just wanted to tell you how I was feeling coming out of it. Let me know what you think about this, and what you think the relationship is between discussing environmental issues and then putting them into practice in your daily life. Thanks.